Search and rescue efforts at the Sewol sinking get a boost from improved weather, but these conditions won't last over the weekend. New evidence suggests the life rafts on board the Sewol may have been useless, and that's why more were not deployed. And questions are being raised about whether the Sewol, a passenger ship, was overloaded with commercial cargo. Hello and welcome to News Today on KBS World. It's Thursday, April 24th. I'm Luke Clary. Search and rescue efforts have picked up speed with the improvement in weather and tidal conditions at the site of the Sewol sinking. However, it's a race against time as high winds, rain, and stronger currents are forecast for the weekend.
Winds have been rather calm and the waves have remained around 0.5 meters high around the Maenggol Straits. Fine weather around the accident site is expected to continue until Friday. The waves would be about 1 meter high at the most for today and 1.5 meters for tomorrow. But a rainstorm is forecasted for Saturday afternoon and the waves are expected to reach as high as 3 meters. For now, the currents at the treacherous Maenggol Straits have noticeably slowed down. This time of the month is when the amount of seawater coming in and out of the area is at the lowest level and the currents are the slowest. But this span of favorable tidal conditions is expected to end today. The underwater search operation is only going to get tougher as time goes by. Until today, the current speed measures 1.6 meters per second at its peak, but it's expected to increase to 1.8 meters per second by Friday, 2 meters on Saturday, and 2.2 meters on Sunday. The slow current period for the Maenggol Straits is an hour before and after 9:52 tonight. The rescue authorities are likely to step up their efforts today when the weather and tidal current conditions are their best.
Divers continue to give it everything they've got to recover the missing ferry passengers. They're even putting their own lives at risk in hopes of making an impact.
Rescue operations at the site of the Sewol disaster are all about pushing a human being's limits. The divers continue their search for missing passengers even when their oxygen supply are dangerously low. To prevent health risks, divers must move slowly when exiting the water, but these divers just want to save as much time as possible. The area of the Sewol accident is known for its difficult diving conditions. The naval regulations say that diving is only allowed when the flow velocity is less than 1 knot. However, in this area, it can go as fast as 4 times that speed, but is generally in the range of 2 to 3 knots. The divers have been carrying out their rescue operations for several days in a row. They're extremely fatigued, and their ability to concentrate has deteriorated.
사명감도 앞서겠지만 구조자 자신의 안전을 위해서 무감압 함재 내에서 잠수를 마치고 올라오는 것이 좋고요.
Despite the harsh conditions, these divers say that the only rule that exists for them is saving as many missing passengers as possible.
A lot of questions remain surrounding the sinking of the Sewol. One of them is, why didn't the life rafts work? Evidence shows that the rafts on board may have been useless to begin with.
There were 44 life raft capsules on the deck of the overturning ferry. The rafts should have been deployed already, but they remained where they were. Then why was that? The crew members claimed that they could have released the capsules but could not even approach them because the ship was already severely tilted.
거기에 누가 한 사람이라도 접근했다면 이 40기 되는 건 뭐 2, 3분도 안 걸려요?
Evidence show otherwise. The crew members had been staying in a wheelhouse and the person who got to the rafts was a Coast Guard. The Coast Guard rescuer tried but failed to release the first and second capsules on the right because their safety pins were locked in place.
가자마자 제일 가까운 거 그거를 시도했죠. 근데 그게 바로 안 뽑히니까.
Finally, he managed to kick out to the sea a pair of rafts located on the far left side, but out of the 2, only 1 opened up. The Coast Guard said they could not pull out the safety pins because they were rusted and tightly fastened to something.
핀을 뽑아야 되는데 처음에 시도했던 데가 핀이 고착이 돼갖고 다 안 뽑히더라고요. 그러고 손가락 악력으로는 약간 무리가 있는.
That means that the sailors would have had the same problem even if they had to deploy the rafts. Life rafts are designed to automatically float up to the surface at the depth of 3 meters, but only 4 of the ferry's rafts had been discovered so far, with the rest of the life rafts still submerged underwater.
There are now suspicions that the captain and sailors on the Sewol may have known that the life rafts would not deploy. If the life rafts were in working order, many more could have been saved.
As the Coast Guard struggled to launch life rafts, the captain and sailors of the Sewol were getting onto a rescue boat. None of them even attempted to help the Coast Guards and rescuers launch the life rafts. This is why there are suspicions that they already knew that the life rafts would not work. There is also a testimony that the sailors knew that most of the life rafts would malfunction. The conversation between the Sewol and the Jindo Vessel Traffic Service is also suspicious. Despite the repeated orders to get the passengers to abandon the ship, the Sewol kept asking the Jindo VTS if they could be rescued immediately. The sailors never said that they would launch life rafts. They could not have told passengers to jump into the rough sea when they already knew that the life rafts would not work. So the sailors just kept asking the Jindo VTS about when the rescue ships would arrive. More passengers could have been rescued if the life rafts had been in proper working condition. While finding the exact cause of the ferry sinking is critical, it's also crucial to investigate whether or not the life rafts were operational.
All 7 sailors who were on board the sunken Sewol claim that the captain ordered passengers to escape. The evidence so far contradicts this claim.
승객들한테는 왜 퇴선 명령 안 내리셨죠?
퇴선 명령 내렸습니다.
Other Sewol sailors sing the same tune.
경비장이 도착했을 때 승객들이 퇴선하라고 그렇게 명령해서 무전으로 했고 그 선원들에 대한 퇴선 명령은 나중에 배가 더 기울어서 90도 가까이 됐을 때
An assistant engineer of the ferry gave a different explanation a day after the sinking.
승객들에 대한 안내가 있었나요?
그건 그 상황에서 잘 모르겠습니다.
그때 당시에 탈출하실 때 기울이가 배가 어느 정도 기울어졌어요?
그 당시에는 한 30도나 40도 정도.
There are suspicions that the sailors conspired with the captain to make up a same story. About half of the 15 sailors had stayed at the same hotel before they were arrested.
그걸 묵었다고 알고 있는데 그냥 어차피 몇개 쓴다고 그걸 갖고 이제 연습을 했습니다.
At the hotel having TV and internet access, it was possible for them to get updates on the situation following the tragedy. Investigators are questioning the sailors about if they received orders from the Sewol's operator before making a distress call.
Falling cabinets, furniture, and equipment hindered passengers' escape during the sinking. The Ministry of Oceans and Fisheries has regulations that these things should be firmly fixed in place, but this only applies to international vessels.
This footage was recorded by Sewol passenger Kim Hong-young's smartphone right before the ferry sank. A vending machine that had fell over when the vessel started listing is blocking the hallway.
순간적으로 배가 이렇게 확 뒤집어지니까 그러면서 여기에 있는 어떤 자판기라든가 그 기구들이 사람을 치고 또 사람이 사람을 치고.
다친 사람들도 있어요. 머리도 깨지고 귀도 깨지고 자판기도 쓸려가지고 사람 잘리고 다쳐가지고.
A refrigerator in the ferry store has also fallen.
음료수 냉장고 있죠. 네. 음료수 냉장고가 기울잖아요. 고정이 안 됐으니까. 그게 떨어지면 사람만 좀 죽잖아요.
Vending machines and refrigerators that have turned over blocked the passengers' way when they were trying to escape from the sinking ship. While international vessels are mandated to firmly lock down their fixtures, this regulation doesn't apply to domestic ships. Passenger ferries like the Sewol are allowed to operate without firmly fixing their equipment. The results of a safety inspection that was conducted in February this year show that the domestic ships had no problems in terms of the way they handled items aboard their vessels. The Sewol disaster is yet another reminder that regulations with regard to evacuation equipment on domestic ships must be strengthened in line with international standards.
The Sewol ferry is officially a passenger ferry, but in fact, 60% of sales come from cargo transportation, which is more lucrative. Could the ship have been overloaded?
Cheonghaejin Marine Company bought the Sewol 2 years ago from Japan. Its Japanese name was Namio Ue. On the right side of the ship, there was a side ramp for loading vehicles and freight. But on Sewol, the ramp is nowhere to be seen. The side ramp is made of iron and weighs about 50 tons. Cheonghaejin Marine apparently moved the ramp in order to load more cargo onto the ferry.
그걸 뜯어내면은 기본적으로 그것만큼 화물을 더 실을 수 있고요. 이게 30톤 내지 50톤 정도 된다고 보면은 보건성에 안 좋은 영향을 미친다는 것은 확실합니다.
Sewol's cargo weight limit was lowered to 1,000 tons because its ballast restoring force became too weak after more passenger cabins were built. But in reality, as much as 3,000 tons of cargo were loaded onto the ferry. When a ship is overloaded, its ballast water, which helps maintain balance, decreases. However, ship owners oftentimes overload their ships because cargo transportation is more lucrative than passenger transportation.
대부분 보면 고정적이거든요. 왜냐하면 이제 하주들 같은 경우 정기노선 실은 안 하는 물건량 부분들이 있기 때문에 그런데 여객은 그렇지가 않다는 이야기죠.
In light of the series of recent accidents, the International Maritime Organization is considering banning the operation of ferries that simultaneously transport people and freight.
Ships on the sea have a lifespan for safe operation, but different government agencies seem to be unable to come to a consensus on how long that should be in their conflicting reports.
Cheonghaejin Marine Company bought the 18-year-old Sewol ferry from Japan 2 years ago and operated it between Incheon and Jeju Island. In 2009, the Shipping Act was revised, raising the limit on the years of operation for ships from 25 years to 30 years. That means that the Sewol was allowed to operate for 12 more years. At the time, the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport used this report as a basis to increase the number of years a ship can operate. The ministry said that after surveying 41 passenger ferries that were 15 years old and older, it found that the ship's safety wasn't seriously affected due to their age. The ministry even said that its analysis of marine accidents that happened after 1997 showed that the ship's age had nothing to do with the causes of the accidents. The government raised the limit on the number of years a ship can operate at the request of the passenger ferry companies.
적지 않은 경우에서는 정부 그 부처의 입맛에 맞추어서 정책 결정을 합리화하거나 정당화하는 그런 논리를 제공하는 것으로 이용되기도 합니다.
However, another report that was written by the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport 4 years later says something totally different. It says that old vessels need urgent improvement because they are prone to accidents. The report added that marine companies were deliberately importing old passenger ships because of the revised age limit, and that in just 5 years, the number of ships that are 21 years old and older had quadrupled. Late last year, the number of large passenger ferries weighing over 2,000 tons stood in Korea at 17, including the Sewol. 15 of them were used ships that were imported from overseas. Their median age was over 20 years.
Prosecutors have raided 10 locations in their investigation of Yoo Byung-eun, the owner of the Sewol's operator Cheonghaejin Marine Company. Yoo's home and Cheonghaejin Marine affiliates were included in the search and seizure.
This is the home of former Sewol Group chairman Yoo Byung-eun. He is known as the real owner of the ferry operator Cheonghaejin Marine. Prosecutorial investigators picked the gate lock and rushed inside. The search and seizure took place simultaneously at 10 locations. The investigators searched the homes of ex-CEO Yoo and his 2 sons, offices of Cheonghaejin Marine and its affiliates, as well as the religious group Yoo was associated with. The prosecution has seized counting books, internal reports, and management-related materials. The seized materials will help the prosecutors probe the allegations of embezzlement and breach of trust by the Yoo family and executives of affiliate companies. The prosecution will also examine whether the owner's family had taken their assets overseas, committed tax evasion, hidden assets, and illegally lobbied supervisory agencies. Also, the National Tax Service will hand over its findings from special audits conducted on I1I Holdings, Cheonghaejin Marine's holding company, to aid in the prosecutorial investigation. The headquarters and the Incheon office of Korea Shipping Association, a passenger ship watchdog, have also been searched to look into widespread corruption in shipping and port operation.
Aside from Cheonghaejin Marine Company, Yoo Byung-un and his family have stakes in some 30 other companies in a web-like management structure.
Former Sewol Group chairman Yoo Byung-un's two sons have stakes in 4 companies. With a combined 39% stake, the two sons are a major shareholder in the holding company I1I Holdings. The I1I Holdings has stakes in 8 businesses, including Cheonghaejin Marine, shipbuilder Chonhaeji, and a dietary supplement company, Dapenda. Chonhaeji is a major shareholder of Cheonghaejin Marine, while Dapenda has stakes in Chonhaeji and Sewol. The companies have stakes in each other through a cross-shareholding system. Through this, Yoo's two sons control 12 major affiliates with a 39% stake they have in I1I Holdings. Their assets stand at over $538 million. When 18 other affiliates and overseas branches are factored in, the web-like management structure gets really complicated.
투자한 금액 이상의 어떤 계열사 지배에 대한 그 지배력을 상당히 확대를 할 수가 있고요. 향후에 어떤 민형사상 소송이 있을 때는 책임을 좀 적게 지게 되는 이런 경우가 있을 수가 있습니다.
As the former chairman has no share in those companies, he and his family can dodge any legal responsibilities for the sinking of the Sewol, even though they own and control the companies. Observers say that with the complicated management structure, questions will arise as to who is responsible for paying the families of the victims compensation for their loss.
And that's it for this edition of News Today. We'll see you again at the same time tomorrow. Have a great day.